Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Kathleen. Today, we're going to have a very well thought out guest and conversation today with our whale cup full of coffee here. And I'm also pleased to start out by letting you know that I'm on the Automotive Council through Women in Auto Care. So I'm really excited about that. And, just saying, but my chair is virtual events chair. So please stay tuned for things coming up virtual events wise. I think all of you watching this podcast helped me to score that particular role. So I really, really appreciate you, and I appreciate you tuning in. But I'm also really excited about the guest today. I am really excited to welcome Kaylee Felio, otherwise known as the Parts Girl, who works for PartsEdge. She'll be joining us and talking a little bit about, of course, what it's like to be a woman in automotive, how she got into her career, how she balances things, just all things automotive, woman related, and parts related. So let's welcome Kaylee.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining us today, Kaylee. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I love your show. So it's I didn't get a chance to get my coffee though. So
well, how are you even how are you even this peppy without it?
Well, I've already had a cup.
Good. Well, perfect. So you're well caffeinated. That's the important part. So Kaylee, tell us a little bit about how you got into automotive in the first place.
So I feel like I've shared it a few times. So it's a funny story. I was managing a Subway restaurant. I was about just out of high school. And my bosses, the founders of PartsEdge, Cliff and Chuck, were my regular customers. So we got to know each other. And one day they just asked me if I knew anyone that was looking for a job, which I went over my head. I was like, oh, they're actually asking me if I'm that person. So I took them up on the offer just because I was at this point where I, didn't want to stay at Subway for the rest of my life. And, I wasn't sure if I was going to buy one. So I wanted a career, and I went off and started working for PartsEdge. So and that was about 10 years ago now or
nice.
more.
It doesn't look like it's been 10 years, Kaylee. I will tell you that. But yeah, so look, and then I know you've grown your career since then. So what did you start out doing when you first went to PartsEdge, and where are you now?
Yeah, so being that PartsEdge is still fairly small, but back then it was even smaller. It was really cool because I got to get my hands in a lot of different roles within the company, but essentially it was just supporting our parts managers, more learning about, just their day and how we, what we do with the DMS and the sources and the data and how to understand, all the data. So that's really what I got to learn. I also got to do accounting with PartsEdge because, again, small company. So it was fun to learn that side of the business. And then I ventured off and left them. So I never really count the year I left, but I got my real estate license and left and came back into sales and marketing after I realized real estate wasn't for me. And then, so here we are. Now I'm in sales and marketing with PartsEdge.
Well, that's nice. So you've had a nice little career trajectory. So you took that little departure to real estate. That's actually sort of interesting. How did you come to understand, like, oh, I thought this would be great, but it's not what I thought it was?
It was a combination of things. I don't think I was ready for it. I was a little younger. I actually had never bought a house before. So it was kind of hard as a real estate agent to be a realtor having never bought a house. And then it was just a lot of learning about just myself. And it was very disappointing too, because I just had such ambition and such like, I wanted to make it work. And it just, at some point I was just like, this isn't for my personality. Like I was in this constant, I don't know how people do full commission because it's just stressful. I
Yeah.
so it was, yeah.
Yeah, the financial insecurity of it is wild. And like you said, I think if you're a subject matter expert and you really have a good understanding of, oh, here's how I'm going to build my customer base, or you have, customers that are already sort of in your pocket, it's a little easier to take that leap. But yeah, you were essentially both an entrepreneur and full commission. And like you said, on something that you weren't even a homeowner at the time. So that's tough. But I'm proud of you for jumping out there, taking that risk, learning about yourself, and then, rebounding. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot from that time that I apply to what I helped PartsEdge with. So I really feel like it was supposed to happen that way, and not supposed to work out. So
Yes, as things often do, it's not so much what happens to you, it's what you do with it afterward that makes it either, good or bad, a lesson or a mistake, right? That's the difference between a lesson and a mistake, I think, is what you take away from things. So, what do you think is next for you doing sales and marketing now? Do you see yourself continuing on that trajectory and growing your career there? Or is there other stuff that you're also looking at or thinking about?
Oh, that's a good question. No one's ever really asked me that. I feel like I'm torn because I love both. I love marketing and I love sales. And I know as we grow and grow, the department's going to have to be a little bit more separate, and I'm not going to be able to do all of what I do. Um, but that's really where I feel like my passion is, because I really like building relationships, but I also love the creative side of marketing and designing and like just getting the message and the branding out there. But then on the sales side, it's like I get to talk to people, I get to help them. And so it's like I just love both of them. So I feel like that's where if I do anything else, I'm always going to be in that area of business.
Yeah, that makes sense. And look, who knows, Kaylee, like maybe when you're, one day you'll run both departments, but at a more executive or senior level.
That makes yeah.
Just saying, like that's oftentimes what a chief revenue officer does. Sometimes it comes with marketing, which I actually lead marketing for Repair Pal, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's more, sales focused, depending on who you are and what your interests are. But yeah, that's awesome that you're doing what you love. So how do you continue to educate yourself, given that you're in a small company? I'm assuming you don't have a bunch of people that you can draw on when you don't know something, or so how do you think about that for yourself?
So I feel like I go within the network that I have within the industry, asking other, vendors and partners out there that, what are they doing and what tools are they using and how to better, support everything that we're doing. So I feel like that's how I do like to listen to podcasts a lot. So there are some really good non-automotive related ones that are about sales and about marketing. Ask me the names of them. I can't think of them right now because there's so many. And it's actually like really cool how Spotify suggests a lot too. Like once they learn what you like, so I'll just listen to random ones every now and then. And so that's really how I stay on top, and listening to audiobook. I don't read as much. I listen to audiobooks. I don't have time to read.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, just like we were chatting about when you first came on, you were putting one of your kids to bed. So talk to me about, you're in this period of growing your career, figuring out what you want to do, but also balancing that with being a parent. So what's that like?
It's exhausting. It really is. There are days where I'm just feel really, especially right now in the newer days of having a newborn, I guess, because he's 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's sitting or laying. I didn't want to move him. I'm like, if I move him, he'll wake up. So I'm just gonna leave him on my lap. But really, it helps to have support. And I have to constantly remind myself, because I think a lot of people are like this. we just like hold it in and we deal with it and we just go and go and go. But I have to remember to stop myself and say like, I need some time or I need a break, because then I can't be the best I can be. But I'm just that type of person, put my head down, work really hard and figure it out. And I do, but sometimes I need a break. So.
Yeah, for sure. Do you mostly work from home, Kaylee, or?
Yeah. I've worked from home since I've moved to Arizona, because PartsEdge is in San Diego. And I've been in Arizona for 6 years now. 6 years. So.
Wow, that's great. And, I think we should normalize, and I feel like working from home does this a little bit, but I think we should normalize sort of the idea of children in the workplace, whether that workplace is your, virtual office or what. I actually is a little bit of a different situation, but I did a, bring my son to work thing when I went to go visit him in New York City this past week. He came to the co-working space with me and was hanging out. Of course, he's 24, so a little different than an infant on your lap. But that's something that's different about people in other countries and on other continents and things like that. I visited the African continent a few times now, a couple different countries. And when you go there, you see teachers that are teaching classrooms with babies strapped to them, or, people working in offices or even doing news broadcasts. Children are very much sort of a part of just everyday life there. And there isn't a situation where, children are really, not appropriate. And so I love how like this new working from home, you can literally do a podcast with a baby on your lap, which I'm here for. I think it's awesome.
I know it's incredible. I love it so much. And I really believe that's why I'm able to have a career and have a growing family, is because I have that flexibility to work from home. Also, of course, I have the support of my husband and my family, but it just, all of it together helps.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it helps women, particularly. And, of course, we're in automotive, which is a male dominated industry, but let's be honest, most industries are male dominated. Right. And I feel like one of the things that oftentimes falls to women, not always, of course, but often is the predominant share of child raising. Right. And so, and how that affects careers and whether we're able to, reach our goals and do all of those things. And so I feel like remote work is really opening that up. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I believe that. It really helps. Because he's just sleeping right now on my lap, and I can do a podcast.
That's right. So tell me how you decided to be the parts girl. So you really went above and beyond your job, I feel like, and you took on this extra thing. You've got this sparkling persona. You by the time we see this, of course, you're going to have spoken at NADA about, parts and inventory and things like that. So you're out there in the world. Relative to your knowledge about auto parts. So describe how you decided to do that and how you created your brand.
It was around the COVID time where everyone was kind of going on LinkedIn, and before pre-COVID, LinkedIn was just like kind of for your resume. And so I started noticing people were posting and we were all kind of networking in that way through LinkedIn. And then I started seeing more podcasts, and I was going on some. I thought there was an opportunity to really have one of my own, because there wasn't a lot of conversations around parts. Even though people were having fixed topics, they were still like, they weren't really talking about parts. So that's really why I started it. But then as I had more conversations, I don't talk about parts as much as I would like to, because parts people are really hard to get on in the podcast. I forgot where I was going with that. I have the mom brain right now, but that's really how it started. I just was like, I'm the parts girl. I've been doing this for so long and we need to put more attention on it. I was also like frustrated too with the fact that dealers and GMs were like not paying attention to it. They would always just like, oh, just go talk to my parts manager. It's like, no, I want to talk to both of you. Like not
right.
Just, yeah. So
yeah, ultimately the dealership could be a really efficient parts distribution center, right? And, there's a lot of profit in parts, more so probably than in the sale of the car. So I agree with you. It's interesting. how little oftentimes the GM knows about what's going on in parts, other than, is my parts manager meeting the goal that I've set of increasing, by 2% or 3% or whatever every quarter, right? But, actually understanding what happens there and the integration that's required with everybody in the service drive, with the customer and all of that, to actually push the parts through. That's interesting. So, but you have difficulty getting parts people on your podcast. That's
Yes.
also interesting. Is it do you think it's because they only like being behind the scenes, or because they're so busy?
Yeah.
Or what do you attribute that to?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think parts people normally, I don't want to put all of them in one category, but they like to just kind of be behind the scenes and not really, in front of a camera is scary. But I will say I started reaching out to more of our clients, and I think I've got a couple parts managers that I've got to come on the show. So they'll be coming on soon, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's exciting. So what's your best advice that you have for people relative to where you see parts going? I mean, it's been bananas for the last few years with, shortages and supply chain issues and rising costs and all that. What are you seeing now?
It's really the same thing. And I feel like we're having different conversations than we did last year at the beginning of the year. Everyone's a little bit, like, I don't want to say scared, but there's a little bit more of like this, hesitation right now and what to do. And I feel like we just need to be more efficient. And I think there's a lot of profit in being more efficient. So, just really looking at your process and your team and fine tuning things and, really figure out what's going to work best for your service and parts department.
Great. And so what are some of the efficiency things that you see people implementing that are working really well right now?
Well, in parts, I would say, talking to PartsEdge and really looking at the way that you are controlling your inventory, because that's where the efficiency comes in. And don't have that mindset of like, this is the way we've always done it. There are ways to enhance and make improvements, because our business has changed and the way that we used to do it isn't quite working, and we have to adapt and we have to keep doing better, or we're gonna fall behind really.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's wild to me how resistant people are to change, right? So like the kind of so many places in our life where we just literally want to sort of set it and forget it, right?
Yeah.
And where we don't want to turn that growth mindset on. But that's really how we're going to reach our goals and make sure, we retain customers and get high scores and sell parts and do all of those things. It's only by continuous improvement. It's sort of like what I tell a lot of the people who work for me. I'm like, you're perfect and you could use a little improvement. I mean, both of those things are true, right? So even though I'm sure a lot of the dealers have, really great processes around that, a lot of the service and parts directors have been doing this for forever, and they know what works. There's probably still some efficiencies that they could gain, particularly in the environment that we're in right now. And I've seen, dealers also working to expand what they carry, having a wider inventory, say, of tires or, other things that enables, different kinds of add-on sales and things like that.
Yeah, I've seen that too with, actually being in the tire business and promoting that as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what 2024 brings. That's for sure. It's going to be a good year.
It is going to be a good year. I see a little baby hand.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Moving.
Yeah. Excited about the prospects of 2024. So you talked a little bit earlier about your networking. Any advice you would give to other women or other leaders in the automotive space about things that you've done to really create that support network?
I really think that getting active on LinkedIn has allowed a network to be built and connections by seeing what other people are posting and engaging on what they're saying, and then also posting what you think and not being scared to share your thoughts or experiences, because that's how we all connect, is getting to know those experiences and what we can, how we can come together and work together. So I gotta lift him up or he's probably gonna cry.
So cute. What's his name?
His name's Aiden.
Aiden. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's awake now.
Little
power naps.
Good. Well, Aiden, let's say hi.
Hey, hi.
He's like, I can't see his screen yet. Oh my gosh, adorable. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today, Kaylee, and sharing all of this with us. I look forward to, hopefully running into you in person sometime soon. I would love that. And, obviously to continuing to be part of your network and following you. That's how this connection happened. And unilaterally, that's the advice that all women are giving to other women, is about that connection. So last but not least, I would say, about how much time do you think you spend on LinkedIn at this point, building that out and engaging and all that?
I feel like there's times where I'm really structured, and then there's times where I'm all over the place. And right now I feel like I'm all over the place. But if I have to say, it's not a solid, it's like throughout the day. So I'll spend a couple hours in the morning, and then do like a post, and then I'll do an afternoon, and then kind of in the evening. And then some days I don't really get on at all, because I'm like, I just need a break. But I think that's kind of, so probably 2 to 4 hours a day. And I think that one thing I did do though is I am a type of person that doesn't like notifications on my phone. Like, it's all clean, like there's no numbers on it. So I have my notifications turned off on LinkedIn because I will constantly be in there, cleaning out the notifications. So
that makes sense. So it's about dedicated time when you have time.
Yeah.
And then creating a space for yourself where you can also disengage from it, so you don't feel like you're doing it constantly. And of course, you're in marketing, so spending 2 to 4 hours a day makes a lot of sense. Someone who's not in marketing, maybe having a slightly shorter sort of focused amount of time that they're spending on that sort of networking would still work. But yeah, that's great to hear about your process. I think that's so smart. Something I recently did is, of course, I'm wearable tech. I've got one of these watches on, right? And so I turned off a lot of the notifications on the watch, because having my phone go off and then the watch, it's like overstimulation or over alert city. So I turned that off on the watch at least. But I think, I'm going to take your advice about phone too, because I am also one of those people, it feels like something's undone if I've got those little numbers stacking up.
Yeah. The only thing is, it kind of with messaging, like I don't reply as quickly, but I do know that you can set a away message on LinkedIn. So I want to get better about that and just like set it like, hey, I'm away, like here's my information, just like a generic kind of message. I did it when I had him. I put it away message like, hey, I'm off for a couple of weeks, I just had a baby. So people know they're not getting ignored. But yeah, I have to be structured with it, or I would just be on there all day wasting time. So
yeah, and that makes sense too. I mean, I always set, of course, an out of office on my email, but I never thought about doing that on LinkedIn. That's really smart. That's a good practical tip. I like that.
Yeah, try it. And you can be fun with it too. It doesn't have to be super professional.
Yes, okay. We are kindred spirits in this regard. So one of the things that I really love doing is writing out of office email messages, because I feel like those don't have to be, dry, like, I will get back to you when I return. They all say that, right? So sometimes it's a little tongue in cheek. I'll be like, I ran away to join the circus. Other times, if I'm doing something amazing, like, why not just share that part of my life with someone? Like, well, I'm going on vacation to here. Here's what I plan to do. Here's a poem I read yesterday that's inspiring to me. Here's what I'm hoping you'll do while I'm gone. Send me this or do that. I come back to the most amazing messages when I do that. It enhances rather than sort of detracts from my connection. And I don't even have to be there to do it. So I'm a big believer in that too.
Yeah, try it on LinkedIn.
Okay,
You should.
good. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kaylee. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much.